And welcome to the third hour of American Agenda. I'm Tom Basili, in for Bob Sellers.
And I'm Heather Childers, and we are now joined by our family of co-hosts. Radio host on KDWN, Steve Sanchez, in a sparkly jacket today. And former Ohio Congressman Jim Renacci will be joining us shortly. But right now we also have co-chair of Project 21, and boy, look at that beautiful, is that a dress or a top? Stacy Washington, the host of Stacy on the Right. Stacy, I love it. People all dressed up today. Great to have you with us.
It's the Instagram shopping addiction. I don't recommend it. Stay off Instagram.
Well, it's successful. I love it.
All right, well, let's get started. Biden's border crisis continues. The Custom and Border Protection officials reporting more than 160,000 illegal aliens were apprehended and nearly 35,000 escaped just in the month of March. Earlier, we spoke with Congressman Brian Babin, who had this to say on the crisis and what he saw while visiting the border.
We went to Laredo. We went up to Carrizo Springs. We saw a number of facilities. We visited the Coast Guard. We went to the Drug Enforcement Agency. We went to the river on several occasions at nighttime, and it was stunning to see how wide open this border is. It's not closed. It's wide open. There are children in inhumane conditions. We are in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and they're telling us, the American citizens, to distance ourselves, wear masks, and these kids are on top of one another in these facilities.
Stacy, I'll start with you. 160,000 and 35,000 got away. That's not 1 million people a year. That's more like 2 million people a year. Your thoughts on those numbers?
Well, first of all, one thing that I saw that was disturbing to me when we're talking about numbers is the fact that Pew did a survey, and 42 million people in South America want to come here, and they're planning to come here because the border is open. That's the first disturbing number. The second one is 18,000. That's the number as of 2 days ago of unaccompanied minors who are currently along our southern border in holding facilities, some of them at 700% capacity. So, there should be a few kids there, like under 100, and instead there are 700 or 800 kids there. And then there's the last number, which I think is most important, and that is the numbers that our border enforcement officers are spending out of their own pockets and out of funds that are needed to staff the southern border on blankets and other essentials for these poor migrants who are coming here because they believe they can just walk over the border and start living like Americans. And so it's a disturbing thing that's happening, and no one's doing anything about it. Unfortunately, the Republicans are in the minority, but they haven't knocked on enough doors, shaken enough hands, gone to lunch with enough people, spent enough time advocating on this issue. It's not a bipartisan issue. It's not a partisan issue. It's a human issue. These people are being used as pawns, and it's wrong.
Yeah, we had the sheriff of Valverde County down there in Texas. He joined us earlier, and he said, these folks coming down trying to come up with solutions to the problem, Steve. He said they need to come down and spend a significant amount of time to see what the problem is. He specifically invited the vice president to come down and take a look at it because he's witnessing firsthand 2-year-olds falling out of boats, and then the CBP has to go into the Rio Grande River to try to save that 2-year-old, which they were able to do, but there have been some children they've not been able to save. So what about our leaders going down there? I mean, does the vice president and the president, do they need to make a trip down there?
Well, there's no question they need to make a trip down there. I mean, Harry Truman said, the buck stops here. And with this administration, I don't get it. They don't have leadership skills. I think we know that. Look, when we look back at Biden's time in the United States Senate, even his time as vice president, he never did anything significant. He does not know how to lead. Kamala Harris doesn't know how to lead. They need to go down there. They need to show strength. They need to show resolve. They need to at least give some optics that they care about what's going on out there so the American people feel a little more comfortable. The American people, the left, the right, the center, are not comfortable with what's going on at the border. And, even our Republican leaders, with all due respect to the GOP, they need to stop the lip service as well, and they need to get down there. Thank you, Ted Cruz, for going down there, and some others that have gone down there, but that's not enough. The optics have got to stop. We need real solutions like yesterday.
But Stacy, look, wouldn't it be a good thing if every Republican member of Congress committed to going down to the border. We already had 19 members of the United States Senate, all Republican, go down to the border. I think that even though this is a nonpartisan issue because it's a human issue, I think that the GOP should be sending a message by committing to say, you know what, we're going to say that we care about these people, while the Democrats don't seem to care that these kids and these other folks are either being mistreated, or they're dying along the way, or they're drowning in the river.
So, yeah, I saw a video this morning of 2 toddlers getting dropped over a wall from a very high height. So, we're not talking about people who care about kids. I can't imagine a 2-year-old of mine. I remember when our kids were 2, having someone drop them over a wall onto their feet, no cushioning, and toss something over and then leave them there. So I want to highlight what you said. There's something important that could be going on right now, and that is you could see the Republicans, all of them, say we're not voting on another thing until someone does something about what's happening at the border. So they go down to the border, and that's where they stay until Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and other Democrats come alongside them. But more specifically, Kamala Harris, who's the Vice President of the United States, who is supposed to be handling this issue, she should be down there. And President Biden, who has time to carry bags up Air Force One steps, should definitely be there. So if there's anyone who's in elected office who's not at the border right now, they should be shamed into attending the border by Republicans who should spend all of their time from here on out there.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. Vice President Harris laughing. I know that everyone heard that when she was asked about whether she would be going down to the border. She does that nervous laugh about everything. And she laughed about whether she would be going down to the border. She also said, or at least her spokesperson said, that no, wait a minute, she's not really in charge of the border. She's just in charge of the money going to some of these, Northern Triangle countries and trying to keep people from wanting to come here into the United States to begin with, which is part of what President Biden has tried to do before when he was vice president of the United States under the Obama administration. Steve, when it comes to actually getting things done, do you believe that the Biden administration wants to fix the border, or are they maybe in some way allowing it to lax because it will benefit them in the long term?
I think they want it to be lax because it's going to benefit them in the long term. I mean, it's obvious that's the case. It's always been the case with the left and with this administration specifically. Joe Biden, he's now the president. He needs to lead. He needs to do something. If he went out and said, look, you need to stop coming. And he does it forceful, not with this whisper that he does, you need to start coming. No, he needs to come out and say, you need to stop coming or we're sending you back. He needs to take that tough stance and mean it. I mean, it's simple. I mean, the solutions are so simple. And yes, we understand the humanitarian aspect. I get it. You know how many kids go to bed hungry in this country, and we're not even taking care of our own backyard, but yet we keep focusing on others, and we're all humanitarians. But my goodness, enough is enough at this point.
All right. Thank you, panel. Stand by. We're going to bring you right back. Coming up, President Biden letting Trump's H-1B visa plan expire this week. So what does that mean for India's IT sector? We'll be discussing that and much more on American Agenda next.